Okay, so you sent over those articles about this Bybit crypto heist. $1.5 billion dollars just gone like that.
Yeah.
It's crazy if you're into cryptocurrency at all.
hmm
Like, it's got to make you think, is this even safe?
It's definitely unsettling for the entire industry and those who believe in the potential of cryptocurrency to revolutionize finance.
Yeah, exactly. So let's break down what happened with Bybit. I mean, it is the biggest crypto heist we've ever seen.
Right.
We're going to dig into the security concerns around it and just try to understand what it means for the future of crypto, especially if you're thinking about investing.
Sounds good.
All right, so this article lays out the whole Bybit hack. Pretty clearly, they're one of the biggest crypto exchanges out there.
hmm
And, they had this Ethereum wallet where they store funds essentially for day-to-day trading.
Right.
It seems like the hackers got into that wallet during a transfer between their offline cold wallet and their online hot wallet.
Yeah, that's where things get a little bit interesting because the cold wallets are supposed to be offline and virtually impenetrable.
Right.
But during that transfer, the funds were briefly exposed,
Yeah.
creating, a window of vulnerability
I see.
that the hackers were able to exploit.
And they got away with how much? 1.5 billion?
$1.5 billion were redirected to their own account.
To put that into perspective, that's bigger than any bank heist in history.
Yeah, it's pretty mind-blowing when you think about it.
Uh-huh.
It really highlights just the sheer scale of value that's flowing through the crypto space these days.
Right.
And, it's attracting some serious players. Like we've got the Lazarus Group.
Mm.
They're suspected to be a North Korean cybercrime unit.
Oh, wow.
Their potential involvement adds a whole other layer to this, like a geopolitical thriller almost.
It's like something out of a movie.
Yeah.
So they got away with the money, but then what happens next? I mean, the article talks about them laundering the funds.
Right. So they're trying to cover their tracks by moving the stolen cryptocurrency through a complex web of wallets and exchanges.
Mhm.
And they're even using these services called coin mixers that make it incredibly difficult to trace the money.
So, like, even though authorities are trying to, like, freeze the assets, they've already cashed out a good chunk of it.
Unfortunately, it seems so at least 300 million has already vanished into thin air.
Wow.
Recovering the full amount seems unlikely at this point.
It's pretty unsettling for anyone who's invested in cryptocurrency at this point. But here's the thing, even with this massive heist, plenty of people are still incredibly bullish on crypto.
Right.
What is that? What is the allure, even with these risks?
So for some people, it's the idea of decentralization, that cryptocurrency can cut out the middleman, like banks and governments,
Right.
and it gives people more control over their own finances, a kind of financial freedom that traditional systems don't offer.
And of course, there's the potential for huge returns. I mean, we've all heard stories of people becoming millionaires by investing early in Bitcoin or Ethereum.
Sure.
That kind of potential for massive growth is powerful motivator.
Absolutely. And then there's the technology itself. You mentioned blockchain and how it's supposed to be super secure.
Yeah.
So how is it that blockchain itself can be so secure when we keep hearing about these massive exchange hacks?
That's a great question. There seems to be a disconnect there.
Yeah, so let's break it down a little bit.
Yeah.
The blockchain, the technology underpinning cryptocurrency, is actually incredibly secure by design.
Mm.
Every transaction is recorded on this immutable public ledger, making it extremely difficult to tamper with.
Okay.
Think of it as a digital fortress protecting the transaction history.
So if the blockchain is this impenetrable fortress, where does the vulnerability lie? Is it with the exchanges themselves?
Exactly. Think of it this way. The blockchain is like Fort Knox, virtually unbreachable.
Mm.
But exchanges are like your local bank,
Okay.
with varying levels of security and unfortunately sometimes gaps in their defenses.
Okay, that's helpful. That makes sense. So the problem isn't with the underlying technology, it's with the places where people are buying, selling, storing their crypto. Which brings us to crypto's downsides. The Bybit situation definitely throws a spotlight on some major concerns.
For sure.
What's the first one that jumps out at you?
I think the first one, especially given this heist, is the lack of regulation. Unlike traditional banks, most crypto exchanges aren't subject to the same level of oversight or consumer protections.
So if an exchange gets hacked, are you essentially on your own?
In many cases, yes. There's no FDIC insurance for crypto, and governments are still scrambling to figure out how to regulate this space effectively.
Which makes people hesitant, understandably so. And this article also highlights that cybercrime is rampant in the crypto world.
Oh, yeah, that's a fact. Bybit isn't an isolated incident.
Right.
We've seen a wave of high-profile hacks in recent years, and this fuels skepticism about the security of digital assets overall.
Hmm.
Does this mean crypto is inherently unsafe, or are these just growing pains for a new industry? What are your thoughts?
Well, that's a great question, and honestly one that a lot of people are asking right now. But before we jump into that, let's explore some of the other concerns that people have with crypto, like the issue of volatility, for example. This market is known for its wild swings.
Absolutely. The Bybit hack triggered an almost instant drop in Ethereum's price,
Right.
highlighting just how sensitive the market is to these events.
It's a roller coaster ride, exciting for some, but definitely nerve-wracking for others. So given all these downsides, is there any hope for cryptocurrency? Can it actually be made safer? Let's dive into that next.
Let's do it. That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
This article does offer some potential solutions.
Okay, cool. Let's hear it.
Well, I think first and foremost, stronger cybersecurity is a must. It might seem obvious,
Right.
but exchanges really need to invest heavily in more robust security protocols to protect user funds.
Like, what would that look like? What kind of measures are we talking about?
I think multi-layered security is really the key here.
Yeah.
So we're talking improved wallet security, multi-signature authentication, and using AI to detect and prevent suspicious activity.
So basically making it much harder for hackers to get access and move funds around.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then there's this whole looming question of government regulation.
Yeah,
It's coming whether people like it or not.
that's interesting. What kind of regulations could we see?
I think imagine the regulations that we have for traditional banks
Okay.
being applied to crypto exchanges. So
Mhm.
things like know your customer rules, anti-money laundering measures, and stricter security standards.
That makes sense. It would add a layer of accountability that's currently missing from the crypto world.
Right, and it could also help with another pressing issue, tracking stolen funds. The article stresses the need for better collaboration between exchanges and law enforcement agencies.
So we're talking about agencies like the FBI getting involved to track down these cybercriminals?
Precisely. If
Wow.
they can work together more effectively, there's a chance of recovering stolen assets and even bringing the perpetrators to justice.
Okay, but realistically, catching these guys is like trying to catch a ghost, isn't it? I mean, they're operating in the shadows of the digital world.
It's a challenge, no doubt.
Yeah.
But there have been some successes, and as technology advances, law enforcement is getting better at tracing these transactions.
Okay, so we've got cybersecurity, we've got regulation, we've got law enforcement working together. This article also mentions something kind of intriguing, insurance for crypto.
Right.
Is that a thing?
It is, and it's a fascinating development. Just like you can insure your house or your car, there are now companies offering insurance policies for digital assets.
So if an exchange gets hacked and your Bitcoin disappears, the insurance company would cover the loss.
That's the general idea. It's still relatively new, but it has the potential to become more common as the industry matures.
That would definitely give investors more peace of mind. It sounds like there are some potential solutions out there, but it's going to take a concerted effort from everyone involved, exchanges, governments, technology providers, to make crypto truly safer.
I completely agree, and this Bybit hack could be a turning point, a catalyst for the industry to really address these security concerns head on.
Yeah, now how has Bybit responded to this whole situation? I mean, they must be under immense pressure to address this.
Absolutely they are. And the article highlights a couple key things that they've done. First, they've assured customers that their remaining assets are safe and that they'll cover any losses from the hack.
Okay, well, that's good news for their customers, at least in the short term. But does that really address the underlying security issues that allowed this to happen in the first place?
That's the bigger question, isn't it? It's a Band-Aid solution. They're also offering a substantial reward, 10% of the stolen funds to be exact, for information leading to the recovery of the money.
Wow, that's a hefty sum. Imagine being the one to crack that case.
Right.
But on a more serious note, it shows how determined they are to get to the bottom of this.
It does. They're clearly trying to calm the storm and make things right with their users. But the bigger question is, where does crypto go from here?
Mhm.
What are the long-term implications of this hack?
That's what I'm wondering. This Bybit hack isn't just a news story. It feels like a defining moment for the entire industry.
Yeah, I think you're spot on with that observation. It has the potential to shake things up in a big way.
In what way? How do you see it potentially changing the landscape?
Well, it could force exchanges to truly prioritize security, push regulators to take action, and make investors think more critically about the risks involved.
So going back to the article's title, is this the wake-up call that the crypto world needed?
It very well could be. The future of cryptocurrency really depends on whether the industry can learn from this event and take concrete steps to solve its security problems.
Okay, let's bring it back to our listener. You've been following this story, you're interested in crypto. What does all of this mean for you? What should you be thinking about, especially if you're considering investing?
First of all, don't panic. This Bybit hack doesn't mean that cryptocurrency is doomed.
Okay.
It's more about being informed and making smart, calculated decisions.
Right. It's not about throwing the baby out with the bathwater. It's about understanding the landscape, both the good and the bad.
Exactly. Do your due diligence, choose reputable exchanges with strong security measures, and always be aware of the inherent risks involved.
And probably a good idea not to put all your eggs in one basket, so to speak.
Yeah.
Diversification is key.
Absolutely. And remember, security is an ongoing process, not a one-time fix. The crypto world is constantly evolving, and so are the threats.
So stay vigilant, stay informed, and don't be afraid to ask questions. Knowledge is power, especially in spaces as dynamic as this one.
I couldn't agree more. And while this particular event has brought security to the forefront, there are other aspects of the crypto world that are worth exploring.
Okay.
For instance, we've talked about the potential for decentralization.
Mm.
What does that actually look like in practice?
Yeah, that's a great point. And this article touches on something called decentralized finance, or DeFi. What exactly is DeFi, and how does it play into this whole picture?
DeFi is basically the idea of recreating traditional financial services, like lending, borrowing, and trading, but on a decentralized blockchain network, cutting out those intermediaries that we talked about earlier.
So instead of going through a bank, you're essentially interacting directly with other individuals through smart contracts on the blockchain.
Exactly. And this has the potential to open up financial services to people who don't have access to traditional banking,
Wow.
create more transparent and efficient systems, and even offer new investment opportunities.
That sounds incredibly empowering, especially for people in underserved communities or countries with unstable economies. It feels like
Yeah.
we're just scratching the surface of what's possible with crypto.
We are. And while the Bybit hack is a serious setback, it's important to remember that the underlying technology and the potential it holds are still incredibly powerful.
It's a reminder that every innovation comes with its own set of challenges, and that progress often comes with bumps along the road.
Exactly. And the way we respond to these challenges will determine the ultimate trajectory of this technology.
Yeah, this has been a fascinating conversation, really shedding light on the complexities of this world. But I feel like we need to bring this back to that central question we started with: is crypto safe? After diving deep into this Bybit situation and considering both the pros and cons, what are your final thoughts?
Well, that's the question on everybody's mind right now, and I think, honestly, there's no easy answer.
Boa.
The Bybit hack has exposed vulnerabilities that can't be ignored.
So it's not a simple yes or no.
Not at all. It's a
Yeah.
very complex landscape. On one hand, you have this incredibly innovative technology with the potential to change the world,
Mm.
but on the other, you have these security challenges and a lack of regulation that create real risks for investors.
So what's the takeaway for someone who's listening to this, maybe trying to decide if they want to dip your toes into the crypto world?
I'd say it really comes down to education and awareness. You
Okay.
know, don't let fear paralyze you, but don't be reckless either.
Right.
If you're considering investing in cryptocurrency, do your research, understand how it works, and choose platforms with a proven track record of security.
Yeah, it's like anything new, right? You don't jump in the deep end without learning how to swim first.
Exactly. There are resources available to help you learn, and there are ways to mitigate risks.
Okay.
For example, you can consider diversifying your investments, using hardware wallets for added security, and, start with smaller amounts that you're comfortable potentially losing.
And stay informed about the evolving regulatory landscape.
Yes, absolutely.
Things are changing rapidly, and new safeguards are being put in place.
That's right. The future of crypto really depends on whether the industry can address these security concerns effectively. If they can, then the potential is enormous.
It's almost like we're at a crossroads. This Bybit hack could be the catalyst for positive change, forcing the industry to mature and become more secure and trustworthy.
I agree, it's a wake-up call. And if the industry responds effectively, it could lead to a more robust and resilient ecosystem that benefits everyone.
So it's not game over for crypto?
No, not by a long shot, but it's a critical moment.
Yeah.
The decisions that are made now will really shape the future of this technology.
Well, this has been an incredibly insightful deep dive. I feel like we covered a lot of ground, from the details of the Bybit heist to the broader implications for the future of crypto. What are some key takeaways that you would like to leave our listeners with?
I think the main takeaway is that the crypto world is both exciting and challenging.
Hmm.
There are opportunities, but there are also risks. Be informed, be cautious, and be aware that this is still a relatively new and evolving space.
And maybe, just maybe, this Bybit situation will be the push that propels the industry towards a more secure and stable future.
I hope so because the potential benefits of this technology are too great to ignore.
Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you found it valuable. And remember, keep learning, keep exploring, and make sure you're making informed decisions about your crypto journey. Until next time, stay curious.